Welcome back to the Perek Project. So we're in the season of resolutions coming up to Rosh Hashanah, a new year. And I wonder if you've ever thought, how comes we can have the best of resolutions, the best of intentions, and yet somehow our actions can fall short? The reality is that we only do wrong because of a distorted perspective. And in this next Mishnah that we're going to learn together, we are going to see 3 power questions that will help us develop a healthy attitude, and it's going to keep us from our actions from falling short of where we need to be. Let me tell you a little anecdote about a Kavya ben Mahalel who is going to give us these 3 power questions that will tell you a little bit of what a type of person he was. So his son asked him to put a good word in with his colleagues for him. Now, most of us, if our child were in a situation where we could grease the way, so to speak, a little bit by putting in a good word for them, would think nothing of it. But not a Kavya. You know what he said to him? He said, "Your actions will determine what my colleagues think of you," i.e. that the type of relationship that you'll have with them is based totally on you. So what does he tell us to do? What are his 3 power questions to help us develop that attitude that is going to keep us from sinning, from doing wrong? His 3 questions are: number 1, know where you came from. Number 2, know where you are going to. And number 3, know before whom you will have to give justification and reckoning. Now, these 3 questions can be understood as talking to 3 different levels. Number 1, he's talking to the soul of us. He's telling us, know where you came from. You have a divine soul. You're a spark of God. And know where you're going to. You're going to take that soul and you're going to return it to God. And we want to return our soul to God, not just undamaged by bad deeds, but enhanced by a life lived well, filled with good deeds. And thirdly, he says, remember that your life, you are so very important that every single thing that you do is reported to God, the Almighty. Wow! He's teaching us that when we recognize how divine, how great, how special we are, how on earth could we possibly slip up and do wrong? But he's also addressing these 3 questions to the action that you're going to do. He's saying, know where you're coming from. Know what your motive is to do it. Examine what your motive is. Sometimes it's very easy to say, I'm doing this for the good. But really, there's a niggling deeper motive in there that's not healthy. And the second question is, he's saying, where are you going? This action that you're about to do, know where it's going to take you to. Is it going to take you where you want to go, or is it going to take you away from where you go? And he says, number 3, know whom you'll have to give justification for. Because don't think that when we do something, it doesn't have an effect. People around us, it influences them. Not just the people that see, but the people that we come in contact with. It makes an impact. We live in a world that is spiritually connected, just like in the physical world. There's an ecosystem. And if you take one thing out of the ecosystem, it affects the entire ecosystem. So too, in the spiritual world, when we do an action, it affects the spiritual world. So if we do a good action, it affects the entire spiritual world. And if we do a bad action, it affects the spiritual world too. So when we ask these 3 questions of the action that we're going to do, it also develops within us that healthy attitude that is going to keep us making the right choices. having reminded us how special and great we are and how impactful our actions can be, he's also going to remind us to stay humble, because he reminds us, where are you coming from? All of us started the same way, from a putrid drop. And where are we going to? Life ends for all of us the same way. As we're told, a person is buried in a shroud where there is no pockets. Why? Because we don't take physical things with. All we take with are the Torah and mitzvahs that we accumulated in this world. And he says, compare our humble beginnings with whom we're going to have to give a report of everything that we did, with the exalted God. And when we bear that perspective in mind, how could we possibly mess up? And how could we possibly stop ourselves from doing mitzvot? And he uses the language of going, because life is a journey, and we're either going up or we're going down. And hopefully, if we remember these 3 power questions, where do we come from? Where are we going? And to whom we will have to give justification. And remember how great, yet how humble, and how impactful our actions can be. We will be on an upwards journey. Thank you so much for listening.